Now I'm ready to talk. So, as you can probably see from the title of this video, today I'm going to talk about misgendering in newspapers and mainstream media in general, how you can prevent it from happening, and what you can do if you see there's an article published about you in which you are getting misgendered. So 4 years ago I released my first album, and back then I was still identifying as a girl and I used she/her pronouns. So when you type my artist name Aimer in Google, you will see that like journalists refer to me in this way. It's normal because I wasn't out as non-binary back then. However, I have been out as non-binary now for like almost a year, and I had to think a bit how I would approach this topic with journalists, especially because like in October 2019, it's now like a month ago, I guess, or 2 months ago, I can't count, it's late, okay. I released a new EP, and yeah, it was just important for me to now have journalists referring to me in a right way, which is with like gender neutral language and with they them pronouns, because that's what I go by now. So I didn't really find any guideline on doing that, and it was a bit scary for me in the beginning because these magazines and these newspapers, they already knew me as a girl and as someone who uses she/her pronouns, so now I had to really break it to them that it's changed. And I know that like in Belgium especially, being non-binary is really not very well known. People don't really know the term. If they know it, they like don't use they them pronouns. So it was really difficult for me to explain what being non-binary means and well what they them is. In Dutch is die hun. And how you use it in a sentence. Almost no one knew how to use it in a sentence, so I really had to like be a bit of a teacher, I guess. So this is, I guess, a bit a step-to-step guide to try to stop journalists from misgendering you. Woohoo! Firstly, what I always do, and something that is actually always important when you want to appear somewhere in a newspaper, in a magazine, on a site, is that you send a press text. A press text is basically like a summary of what the article should be about, and you can already provide that information to the journalist, and that way you like make it easier for them. They don't have to ask like a million questions anymore because you already provide information, and it's good for you because this way you are already saying this is what you're going to talk about. So that's a press text. When you have your press text, make sure that you refer in the text to yourself in third person. This is like something that is just pretty commonly known, I guess. Don't talk about yourself with the I, like I am. That's just not coming across very professional to journalists. So you always refer to yourself in third person. In my case, I refer to myself with they them. So Aimer, they are a musician from da 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 da. Make sure that if you like have a dead name, that you use your new name, your real name, in the press text, so journalists know that they need to use this name to refer to you, especially when you were like known before you came out as non-binary or trans under another name. Make sure that you use your real new name, and maybe also remind them that they can't use your dead name anymore in the articles. So that's the first thing. Provide a press text in which you refer to yourself with your right pronouns and your name. Secondly, Make sure that you always provide pictures. This is also generally known. You always need to provide recent pictures. However, sometimes people, well, they forget to send pictures, I guess, or they don't send pictures that are very recent. I think for non-binary and or trans person, it is really important to send pictures that are like very recent, especially when you've gone through like a physical change. Maybe you've changed your gender expression, you cut your hair, you went on hormone replacement therapy, anything like that. You may look very different than before, so you don't want like journalists to go on the internet and just pick something from like years ago with which you don't feel comfortable at all. So what I always do is I insert a footnote, like at the bottom of the email, in which I say that I am non-binary. I provide some links to sites that I find really helpful, that explain very well what being trans and being non-binary means. I also tell them that my they them pronouns, they are not up to discussion. I say this in a very kind way, not like in a rude way. And I tell them that if they have questions on the use of they them, because sometimes they want to use it, but they just don't know how, I tell them that they can ask me to help them with how they need to integrate it into a sentence. You also need to tell them that they really need to send the finished article to you before publish. Oh my god, what? Serious face. Before publishing the article, they need to send it to you. You need time to be able to read it through and to correct when needed. This is really important. It is always important, but especially when you're trans and non-binary, you really need time to look into this article. There can be so many things that go wrong, believe me. I will read an example and I will go a bit like this and I will try to write it here. We'll see what it turns into. An example of a footnote that I'll always use really right now. It is insert your name is non-binary. This means that they are not a man or a woman, but rather a combination of both or neither of the two. That is why you saw that they them was used in the press text. If you write something, please respect these pronouns. These are the only pronouns with which insert your name identifies. If you have questions about it, feel free to ask. So I think this way you really say that this is the only way you can be addressed, and you also let them know that hey, it's okay to ask questions about it. And I think this cannot be really interpreted in a wrong way. I think you're being very kind by saying this. I'm going to explain what you can do if it has already gone too far really, when the article is published and you see that they misgendered you in the article, which is really painful. But okay, firstly I'm going to explain a bit why it could happen that a journalist misgendered you. Sometimes they read through your email but they just didn't read it all, and so they didn't really see that you are non-binary and that you use they them. Sometimes they did read it but they just forgot about it, I guess. Sometimes they really try their best, but they don't know how to use they them, so they use it in the article but they do it the wrong way. For example, saying them are when it's they are, or in Dutch you can do hun is. It doesn't make any sense, but yeah. In this case, the good intention is there. They probably thought they were doing the right thing and using they them in the right way, which is why they didn't ask you anymore to give advice on it. It is also possible that sometimes they do it the right way, but then other times in the same article they will use another pronoun, or maybe they will use gendered language, not like wrong pronouns, but just like language that implicates that you are, like in my case, maybe female, saying that I'm like a cute girl or something, or maybe not directly, but saying I don't know, in Dutch we say you have a zanger and you have a zangeres. It's like you have a singer and you have a female singer. Words that like implicate that someone is male or female. So this can also be the case. Some may know that you use they, them, and they may have seen it, but they just like decided not to use it because they most of the time think that it's not professional. That's something I've heard a lot. I think it's because this is just not that integrated right now into our language, and they think it will look unprofessional for their readers. So what can you do when you see an article getting published and yeah, they are misgendering you in the article and it's already online? Well, what I mostly do is I will just kindly remind them that, hey, thank you for like publishing this article about me. I really appreciate it. However, I noticed that there were like some mistakes in gendered language and you didn't use they, them pronouns. I would really appreciate it if you changed this. Let me know if you have any further questions about it. If they change it then I'm glad with it. I'm like, okay, this happened. It's not great, but it happened. If I say it and then I don't get any response, or they maybe just blatantly say to me, no, I'm not going to change this because whatever, then I don't really give attention to them anymore. What I will, however, do is use this example as like how I will use this example for showing people like what is going wrong, that I'm really getting misgendered in newspapers and it's actually happening, and that this needs to change. So I use it for change, I guess. The reason why misgendering in newspapers is so painful, there's like two reasons why it's really painful for like non-binary and or trans people, I think. So in my experience, firstly, it's never nice to be misgendered, but if it's like on a public platform, then like it is really out in the open, and when it doesn't get changed, it is there forever, you know? It is just there for people to find out what your gender assigned at birth was, I guess. And also, it just makes me really scared because this article, it can be read by so many different people, and this can be the first time that they hear about me. So if they read this article and they see that the writer refers to me as a girl, or they use she, her, then they will probably and rightfully think that I am a girl. It's just really painful for me to think about that like this wrong information is being spread around about me. So yeah, I hope that like newspapers keep growing with this, and yeah. I want to end this video with saying that in my experience, it is really so much harder for a trans and or non-binary person to correct articles than it is for a cisgender person. Like, when I still identified as a girl, the only thing I needed to worry about was like the message of an article. I just wanted to like read before it was being published to see if the right things were being said about what I was doing with my music. But now I need to really do so much more. Sometimes I need to rewrite like half of an article because like the language is so gendered, and we are in general not really used to like thinking about language and how much is being gendered, and journalists are sometimes like a bit lost on what they need to do. Some of us are non-binary and will like language that implies that they're like more on the female side or more on the masculine side, and others will like maybe like more gender neutral language like I do. It's just so personal sometimes. So I hope that newspapers really look into that. Maybe the first question they should ask in an interview is, hey, who are you? like what is your name and like what are your pronouns, and that's like the beginning, and then we can just move on. So one more thing that I just wanted to say is remind yourself when you are interacting with journalists on gender neutral language, on being non-binary, all that jazz, just remind yourself that this is really important work for other people that may be published in the future in the same magazine. It can really help them that you are already putting in this energy towards a change. So yeah, I wish you a really nice day, and you are very valid, like always, like every day. Bye. Yeah.